Hey, it's Jeff again. Second trip down to Coca Creek, heading back down to the river to work those two big cracks I was on about a week or so ago. Beautiful weather in the 50s, end of January. Hopefully the water's a little bit lower than it was last time. I'm sure it will be. So why don't you guys come on, we'll head on down to the river and we'll get started. Flora and fauna of southeastern mountains here in Tennessee. Last video you heard me mention something called dog hobble. Well, this right here, that's dog hobble, and it grows in big thickets. Usually doesn't get more than 3 or 4 feet high, but it's a tangly mess. Don't want to get into it. The old guys tell me it's called dog hobble. Well, like in the old days when you would hobble your horse, you know, tie 2 ropes around his front hooves, that way he could wander around and graze, but he wouldn't run off from camp. Well, around here, coon hunting, running bears with dogs get into this stuff, they're pretty much tied up for a while. The other thing we have a lot of down here is rhododendron, and if you're carrying a backpack, shovel, whatever you got, it can be a real pain trying to get through that stuff. And both of these plants remain green year-round here in Tennessee. They're beautiful, they add color to the woods, but man, they are a pain to get through. And all you guys down here that hike and work these areas, you know what I'm talking about. Finally made it down here, about a mile or so walk, about an hour. Water's way down, it's still up a little bit. I'll show you around where we were working last time so you can compare the two. There's that one small crack. There's that larger crack I was working in. Runs out here to this stump. Drops off down here about 4 feet or so into that. We're going to be digging out that stuff down there too. That looks like an awesome trap for flood gold. We'll see what we get out of that. Plus we got a lot of material to take out of this crack. It runs all the way down to the water. We'll see what we can get in there. Hopefully we'll see some good color. No guarantees, but you can see the river's halfway calm now. Be a good day to work. Looking forward to it. We'll talk to you later. Well, took a break from doing that big crack for a while. Came upstream just a little bit. There's some huge boulders up here. And you can see in there the 2 cracks that I worked. Dug material out as far back as I could reach in with my screwdriver. But haven't processed it yet. Don't know if there's anything in there. But now I'm working up there. I'm gonna get my sucker tube. See if I can get anything out of those up there. looks like a tube. Hopefully, after scratching all these out. Well, just finished that crack right there. Then I came over and I worked on that crack right there, but it got so deep my screwdrivers wouldn't fit down far enough. So now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to work this little crack right here. And then I think I'm going to flush this stuff down through the sluice and see what happens. There's that crack right there. I got as much as I could. Again, it's so deep, I can't get down there with my screwdrivers. But it looks like if I was going to hold some gold, it looks like a natural riffle. I mean, you can see there's a river. It comes right down through here, hits this bedrock here. Hopefully something's falling in that crack. And washed all through this mess. You can see some of the debris from the high water last week. River splits, one goes off that way, and the river also cuts off that way. And right back there, pretty big, huge gravel bar. We're going to explore around this area a little bit, see what we can find. Anyways, I'm going to take this down there and run it through the sluice. Okay, just found something interesting. This is that stump. So it dropped off about 4 feet to the river here, and I decided to start digging around down at the base of this because these cracks are super deep, and this is pretty exposed. And when I started digging around through there, started finding hardpack, which might be a good thing. But you can see that's almost like conglomerate. It busts up pretty easy with a rock hammer, but hopefully, you know, this is 500,000-year-old river bottom here that hasn't been touched. We're going to bust it up and see what happens. Well, there's that crack. I'm down about 3.5 feet, about as far as I can reach. I've worked it out this way a little bit. Haven't really tackled this crack yet. I'll hit it tomorrow. Did I dig down there? Hit this crack. I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. I did dig down there and got into that hard pack. Got a little tiny gold out of that. But basically, we're gonna pack it up, get something to eat, head back to the claim, spend the night, and come back out first thing in the morning, hit it again, and see what we get. Hey guys, it's Jeff. I'm back in my studio after my 2 days of prospecting down in Tellico Plains. Not every prospecting trip goes as planned. Spent the first day on the river, which you see video of. I think I did pretty good. Not really any big flakes. Worked that smaller crack and played around in the general vicinity there and worked a bunch of little smaller cracks, which I thought would produce really well. I'm not really sure what came from what crack because I didn't process them separately, but I'll pan those out here in just a minute and give you a view of what those were. After that first day, Monday, I went back to the claim there at Coca Creek and ran into a gentleman named Bob Morrow. He's an older gentleman, has a motorhome that he keeps down there, and he comes down about every 2 weeks or so and prospects. Spent that evening with him. It was an enjoyable evening, and he invited me to prospect with him the next day there at the claim. And so I decided to take the opportunity to do that. One, just to be with somebody else, prospect with somebody, and he also had a high banker dredge, which I'd never used before. A little 1.5 inch, cute little setup, looked really efficient, and he'd found some really good gold Monday there at the site, and so I took the opportunity to spend the day with him and prospect there. So did not get back to my place where I was working, although I did hike a mile in, grab my gear which I'd stashed on the shore, hiked back out, went back to the claim and worked with him for the rest of the day. So didn't take a whole lot of video that day, 1 or 2 minutes of it, mainly because I was on the business end of that high banker dredge. He tended the dredge and I was a sucker boy. So I'll do 2 real quick pans here, show you what I got first day on Monday, show you what him and I got on Tuesday. These are the concentrates I got Monday off those cracks. Do another quick dirty pan here. Here, a lot of little fine small gold, some little bit bigger pieces over here. Looks like a decent little bit, but again, nothing as big as I got last time. Seemed like the deeper I got in that crack, the less gold there was. It just seemed to turn to this kind of reddish brown clay. I classified it into my 5-gallon bucket. And when I went to put it in the sluice, I literally had to break it up with my hands before I dropped it in the sluice, or to go down through the sluice in a great big clay ball. So a lot of little finds, a couple nice little pieces, but nothing like I had the first time. Okay, these are the cons that we got out of Bob's high banker dredge. I believe it was Job. Not really sure. But we put a lot of material through that, probably about a yard or two. It was interesting. We had dug through a bunch of overburden, kind of just like topsoil, hit a clay layer. It was kind of a loose clay layer, maybe about 8 inches thick. And once we punched through that, we got down to gravel. Now, with what little I know of the water around the claim there, that gravel layer is probably about 2 to 3 feet thick. And unfortunately, the water level was probably 1.5 feet above that gravel layer, and it was cold, and I only had armpit high gloves on, and his nozzle gave me another 1.5 feet of depth, and I was probably only able to get halfway through that gravel layer. And at that site, gold is known to lay on a clay layer at the bottom of the gravel, which, if you're laying on your belly and dredging, is probably about 3 feet below the water level. And I was not able to get that deep there. So what we got was the upper layers of the clay. And I think we were in submersion territory. I don't think anybody ever dredged this spot before. But we never got down to, quote, bedrock or that clay layer. And the first clean out, we did 2 clean outs on this high banker dredge. And the first clean out, just a few specks. And the second clean out was better, but like I say, if we could have gotten down, or if I could have gotten down to the bottom of that, I think we would have done really well. There's been a few small nuggets, or what I call pickers, pulled out of that area. But conditions, water temperature, the water was still up probably 6 inches over normal. It just wasn't going to happen that day. So hopefully I can get back there at some point and get in there with a wetsuit, get my face in the water and get down deep. But it was still an enjoyable afternoon with him, working with that piece of equipment, because that was kind of fun. I'd never worked with that before, so. Don't know if you can see it, but there's a ton of really fine stuff. That site's been worked pretty hard, and what we get there is typically flood gold, the little micro stuff. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 little pieces of what we call fly eyes, fly poop, mosquito eyes. I've heard it called a bunch of different things, but there's a couple little bit bigger pieces here and there. But definitely a fun afternoon. Enjoyed spending the day with Bob Morrow, and wouldn't trade it for anything. And finding gold's what it's all about. Not really how much you had, but it's an experience getting it. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll do another one here soon, and plan on doing an equipment one too. I want to talk about some little bitty things that I do just to prep for trips and maximize my time on the water. Anyways, good luck. Get out there, get into it.